less than a minute. So. 7 o'clock on the dot. All right, 7 p.m. We'll call the meeting order. All members present, minus Mr. Jones. We'll stand for the pledge and an invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father, thank you for allowing us to join tonight and discuss city business. Father, I ask that you just keep us all on task. And Father, we do thank you for the rains that you have sent us this way. We just ask you to kind of spread that out a little bit for us. We're a little bit saturated tonight, so we'll ask that you spread that out to some of these other months that we need that rain. So we do appreciate it. Father, just be with each and every one of us tonight as we head home. I know we got a few in here that need to drive home tonight. Just be with them through the fog and guide them home safely. In your name we pray. Amen. Citizens communication. All right, citizens communication. Ms. Tucker, Jennifer.
So tonight I want to speak about the hotel ordinance from 2020. I just want to know for the record that the hotel tax at this time in Bartlett is not only short-sighted but an uneducated money grab on the part of a past council. To effect that now without educating yourselves would be dangerous and ill-intentioned. The hotel taxes may scare away potential visitors and have actually the opposite effect of what's intended. When visitors need to choose between the guest houses here in Bartlett and of course I'm also referring to Avis's, they add a 13% sales tax or hotel tax. With little or nothing to do here in town, or to pay a similar or sometimes cheaper hotel tax in towns nearby with food, events, and shopping, what are they going to choose? So the fun is the cute guest houses, those are only worth so much. And if you think about it, if we condense our pricing to offset that, then we're not going to make enough to be able to make it worthwhile. So what I'm going to have to do is change my business model, which is going to eliminate the hotel tax. Secondarily, why would this council allow something that was passed 4 years ago and not enforced to be magically reappeared without review, education, and insight? I think that this council may not realize just how restricted the funds are for hotel tax. They must be used to put heads in beds. How, seriously, are you all going to promote overnight events in Bartlett? It's too soon. You can't meet the guidelines for this tax, and you're going to end up in a situation like EDD with money where you have it collected and you can't legally use it. Texas has a 2-step law with this. Where the monies collected have to be used first to promote heads and beds, and then secondarily, it has to be used to meet one of 9 very specific uses, but only after it meets the first rule, which is heads and beds. You only have 3. It's going to be one heck of an event where you're promoting 3 people to spend the night, okay? So having said all that, Ordinance 2020-0713-06, in the state of Texas, the hotel tax consists of 2 parts. The first part is the state component, which is 6%, and the second part is the local component, which could be collected by cities, counties, and special districts where the hotel is located. This portion can only be up to 7% collectively, for a total of 13% for that hotel. At no time can a hotelier be asked to collect more than 13% hotel tax at any time per the state of Texas law. So with that, the City Council of Bartlett voted on an ordinance without consulting with the local hoteliers, and they passed an ordinance that is not legal nor enforceable. You all are not fully aware of all the taxes that we are bound to. So I'm here today to 1, alert you to your past council's error, and 2, to remind you that you have partners in this city who work very hard and tirelessly to bring business to this city. We are a wealth of knowledge. You might ask us about that sometimes. We didn't bring business here by accident, but by hard work and effort. It would benefit you all to consult with us from time to time instead of guessing at what it would be like to bring more business here and to create taxes that are actually enforceable. Clearly, and number 3, clearly I want it noted on the record that I will not be filing my hotel tax form this month or any month until this ordinance is corrected and you all discover why it's not legal or enforceable. I'd be happy to tell you why it's not either legal or enforceable, but at some point you're gonna have to come and talk to us about this process in order to know what that is. I'm happy to pay my taxes. I want to pay all of my taxes, but that ordinance is not legal nor is it enforceable.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, moving on. We got a workshop agenda. Item number 1, presentation, update, and discussion on AMI implementation. That word?
Yes, please.
Yes. Implementation. That's it.
Mayor and council, this item before you is a update to when it was previously presented to you all based on feedback that we received. As you can see here. So when this was first introduced to you all, we had looked at it from a water and an electric implementation. The feedback that we heard from council was to look at an electric only implementation. One, it's more expedient to do electric only, and then the other thing is with water, we're going to run into some errors, issues, things that we will not be able to mitigate as quickly as you would with electric. And this would be something that could be looked at a later time when we maybe have more staff or the ability to outsource. And so if we looked at an electric only implementation by following the same model from least amount of meters to the most amount of meters by book, you could see here that we have around 711 meters that would need to be replaced. And you can see the total cost for that implementation at the bottom right, $95,985. The recommendation here is going to be to split that into 2 years. So with year 1 being books 5, 7, 6, 1, and 4 with a total of 327 meters. And then years 2 being book 8, 3, and 2. The cost there being essentially divided almost in half. This is something that we could easily do within our budget. If it was something that the council wanted to do, this was something that we looked at whenever we were increasing the tax rate, so it is accounted for in that. And so the feedback that I need from you all is to whether or not we want to do only the electric AMI implementation, and does the council agree with the 2-year implementation?
Council. Yes, sir.
I'll put my 2 cents in.
Please do.
I think that this is a better, in my opinion, a better plan to move forward more quickly. I know that we already currently have, we've been talking about the CT meters for a while now, and what that involves. I know we have those meters in hand already.
Those are being replaced first week of February.
Okay, so the next question is, are we going to be starting to build that correctly sooner than later?
So, and I can speak on this a little bit. The CT meters, when we first looked at the data, we were assuming that the data that was being read was accurate. After looking at the books, what we have found, and this was only in one instance, but it's several months, the numbers are being averaged. So it's not a true read. So I would hate to do something where we're talking about going in front of businesses and having to say, here's what you should pay or here's what you should have paid. I think we need to build at least 2 to 3 months of data to then have that conversation, because it is going to be a very hard conversation to have with some of these businesses. Their bills are going to essentially go up 80 times, 40 times, some 240 times of what they really should be paying. Most of them are probably, they really are paying 3% of what they should be paying. And so it's going to be a big sticker shock when they see what their true electric usage is and what their cost should be. So Shelton and I spent some time looking through those books, and I think it would behoove us as staff to get good reads, especially with those CTs being AMI, and then having that conversation with them. I know that it doesn't help getting that money and recovering it sooner, but I'm hoping that it will help whenever we have that conversation with business owners.
Because eventually, it's gonna happen,
It will.
no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's substantial, it's less substantial now than it is 6 months or a year and a half from now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand, I think we have good data, but I think we need to implement that sooner than later, as soon as we can get enough data to be able to talk to them intelligently about it. Because this, I mean, the numbers that you processed earlier in the year, or last year actually, that we're leaving $100,000 a month on the table, just in utility bills from 9 or 10 customers. And that is huge, especially when we're starting to talk about implementing personnel policies and recruitment retention.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the money to do it unless we come up with a
Absolutely.
revenue stream to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
And it's right here, the right thing to do is to charge the correct amount of utilities to an energy plan.
So for new customers that say start service in the next, call it 2, 3, 4 months, or what billing schedule are they gonna come into and how are they gonna be impacted by this?
This is the AMI or the CT?
New businesses that
Commercial,
They will have an AMI meter, but an AMI meter, all an AMI meter does is it essentially, instead of having a manual read, it is now an electronic read that is every 15 minutes, so it's a more accurate read.
and some of these, the businesses we're talking, from the last time we had this conversation, their rates were off and there was gonna be a huge.
That's a different one.
Cost impact.
That's a CT meter, and so that is separate from,
We're only doing 3%.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that the kilowatt hours in a meter are kilowatt hours, whether it's a CT meter or a standard commercial meter.
Well, that's what my question, that's what drives my question, because I agree with you, but
if there's new customers, then we would bill them what, if they do have a CT meter, we take what the multiplier is and we would bill them correctly. Because
Again,
we would now know that that is what they should be billed.
But we need to quit worrying about whether it's a CT meter or not, it's just, we're gonna be for the usage.
exactly, the usage is what we're paying for.
so in some cases, I'll give you the background as to why the question was derived, is because as real estate agents, we're selling commercial property. And if somebody says, hey, can you give us a look back on the last 12 months so we know what we're in for? We're handing that over, and then they're walking into a whole different scenario than
I think,
that's dangerous on our part.
I think first on that, Jennifer, you'd want to verify if you have a CT meter or just a one-to-one meter. So CT, yeah, so a CT meter would have, it's a multiplier. And so it's only measuring a certain percentage coming down the pole. At the meter, you're only measuring a certain percentage. But on a one-to-one meter, like a regular residential
Or regular commercial.
or just a smaller commercial building, you're gonna have a one-to-one meter. So what the meter is saying is actual reading. But the CT meter is only sending down a certain little percentage, and then it has a multiplier that, and the lowest multiplier we have in the city of Bartlett on a CT meter is 40. But we're only multiplying everything times 3 instead of 40. And so, and that's the lowest one. We've got one that's 320. The multiplier is 320. We're multiplying by 3. So we're leaving a lot of,
Yeah.
So-
I remember at that meeting, but
so
I sent out 12 months worth of electric bills to somebody 3 days ago, and it's probably irrelevant, basically.
it depends on, like I said.
If it's a
depends on-
CT meter,
It depends on if it's CT or not. And
How do we find out if it's a CT meter or an AMI meter?
the best way would be to have Mr. Gilmore, myself, or Philip go and look at it, and we'd be able to tell you pretty easily.
The CT, the AMI meter will actually work in the CT socket. How you determine that is how it's wired coming into the service above.
Okay.
Okay, because like the fertilizer plant out there, they have a commercial meter, but it's not a CT, it's just a standard plug-in 3-phase meter. All right, and what you see is a one-to-one read. Some of these others in town, there's a building right downtown here that's a little tricky because you can still get power to your building without a meter being plugged into it because the CT only reads what the transformer is telling it to read, but it still has power to the building. So you have to be careful with that. It's kind of, we can look at one and kind of explain to you what it looks like.
Okay.
We don't have good data on what the actual bills are for the buildings.
And that's what we're trying to do, is like trying to put together at least 2 to 3 months of good data, because what we've come to find out in the last couple of days after they've kind of dug into some of the accounts is that it's estimated, because it's messed up. I mean, it's
It has been for a while.
a long time. And so, yeah, so as a city though, we're paying, we're buying our energy from LCRA, we're paying for their energy. We're just not billing them properly for what they're actually using. And so, yeah, and as like Mr. Weaver just said, there's a lot of money that's not being billed properly. And so, a lot of money.
Well, at this point in time, or through ordinance at one point in time, the council prior voted to take the demand out of the charges as well, which that's something that's going to be coming back as well, because we're going to keep demand.
We have to pay for it.
We're going to pay the difference in that demand. And it should be just passed on to the consumer.
So the recap of what I'm hearing from the council is move forward, electric only implementation, 2 years is fine.
I think I would still like to have AMI water meters
Available.
available, and as we have new residents,
We
go
can do
ahead,
that.
go ahead. If we have new services, new residents,
Not, it's a new service, it needs to be, new amount meter, electric, and water.
yeah, I
It
think
can still be manually read.
they can still be manually read, or we can do the AMI on those and just pull them in and put them in different book.
Yeah.
If there's a smaller amount of those, we've got 25 water meters.
And I think that's easier done is when you move it to a new book for a new account, when you're setting up a new account.
Yeah.
So
Now, can we look at this schedule or this, the implementation plan, say 6 months from now and update that if we can?
Yeah.
Because I really think the more quickly we get all the implementation done, the more quickly we're going to see the benefits of that additional revenue and also the accuracy and everything else.
absolutely.
And any new development that we do have will all AMI. So,
Since probably $400 a month, I agree.
cool.
We need to vote on that or can we just start moving?
Now this is a workshop.
I just need feedback and I've got it.
Y'all done with AMI? We answer your questions?
Yes, thank you.
You bet. Item number 2, presentation, update, and discussions on personnel policy.
Mayor and council, again, this item is one that we're bringing back to you all. So this is just a recap of what I heard at the last meeting. As far as holidays went, shifting to 12 recognized holidays and then 1 personal holiday that does not roll over. And so the difference there being that instead of 2 days for New Year's and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, we now only get New Year's Day, and then creating that personal holiday. So essentially, no day is lost, just people can now have some flexibility on how they use that one day. And then with vacation, the feedback was to look at similar size cities, same thing with sick leave, but then also create some kind of administrative process where 1 week of sick could be converted to vacation leave upon city administrator approval. And then with the longevity bonus, it was to increase, but look at similar cities to identify best practice. And then the inclusivity was to shift the language throughout the policy to just be gender neutral.
The rollover didn't change on the SIP, did it? Instead of 240?
I kept it at 240, but yeah, we can go into that. So when we looked at, and I only got a small sample size, Thorndale and Granger were the only ones who responded, but with vacation, it's similar to what we saw last week. It shifted a little bit, but not much. So as you can see, Bartlett is behind as far as vacation goes. We've got essentially 0 years 1 to 5. We are doing 1 week, and then year 6 to 14, we're doing 2 weeks, and then we move into 3 weeks. What you're seeing with other cities is that their standard is 2 weeks kind of starting out, and then moving to that 3 week, and then moving to that 4 week. And so that's what the recommendation here is, to kind of be matched to what similar size cities are doing. this is gonna be a part of that recruitment retention package that we talked about.
So if we have an employee, they're not accruing a vacation, correct? They don't actually accrue vacation hours, but they're just getting, say, 40 hours. If it's
Lump sum.
Zero for the first day of work.
They-
You got 40 hours vacation.
That's it.
Okay, why can't you take that 40 hours and let them not be eligible for that until after the first full year?
The 40,
Yeah. Then they go to 80 in that first full year, but they do accrue their sick time.
so you're saying no vacation the first year? I'm confused.
Everywhere I worked, if you accrued your vacation, you had to work a year before you ever got your full week.
Yeah. I mean, I think some cities do the full week just because you never know if something's gonna happen. Yeah, you have your sick leave, but it's nice to have. We could have it in a system where it's accrued and not lump sum. But I think if you were to do that, you'd have to make all of them accrued. Yeah, you can't, I think our system doesn't really let you do a blend.
So we're trying to make this more attractive and make this more appealing.
Yes.
So the moderate way of doing this is to not necessarily give them all of it up front, because I think what Mr. Weaver is saying is you don't want to hire somebody, then work a week, take 2 weeks vacation and then quit. But you also don't want, in this modern age, for them to have to wait a whole year to get some vacation time. So if we're trying to attract people and make it more enticing, then we can have them where they accrue a day or every month that they work in that first year, so that they at least aren't taking their entire vacation the first month
Yeah.
here. So that's a great way to meet in the middle if you're looking for a way to
Yeah.
handle it. So if they accrue over the months.
Like the 40 doesn't kick in until after 6 months or something.
Yeah, and that's the way you could do it.
When we hire somebody, shouldn't they have a 3-month introduction period, 90-day?
I was gonna say like after probationary period.
Yeah.
Because we would want to have to pay them out a 40-hour vacation, or I'd give her 2 months.
Yeah, and we can write that into the policy where it's, you cannot take until after 6 months or after probationary period.
After 90 days, you can have a regular date, you need them to stay or they won't stay.
Mhm.
Not just like, here's your 40-hour vacation, hit the road.
Yeah.
Use it to find a new job.
So as far as the layout here, is this kind of what, this is more in line with what I think where we should be at. Does council agree, and that, including that we add some language in that first year?
Yeah, just whatever I'm not controlling the first year, I think we need to do a probationary period or something. This is a suggestion.
Yeah.
Something the council wants to do, that would be kind of.
And I'm sure it's in that personnel policy. Most personnel policies have it, so I'm positive that there is one where there, I think it's 3 months. But I can confirm. And then as it relates to sick leave, right now, all we have is 1 week with a rollover cap of 240 days. Thorndale and Granger, 12,
240 hours.
yeah, sorry, 240 hours. Let's not get crazy. They'll take the whole year off. So Thorndale has 12 days with a rollover cap of 240 hours, and then Granger has 13 days with a rollover cap of 480 hours. The recommendation here is to be more competitive, 14 days of sick leave, just to make it easy, 2 weeks, and then the rollover cap of 240 hours.
Which is determination of whatever.
They do not get paid sick leave.
The only question I have on that is, if you get somebody that's got their 240 hours, then they don't use their sick leave, which is what we want them to be at work.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't use it, we'll punish them.
Yes, and that's where I think from a culture standpoint, we encourage them taking time off. So as an example,
But you want to encourage them to take sick leave. That's what vacation's for.
yeah, well, that's true. It's sick leave though, but like, let's say some people may wait to schedule their appointments on a holiday, as an example, just so that they don't have to use their sick leave. So I wouldn't say that that's punishing. I think that's just people wanting to save up their time. But again, from a culture standpoint, if people come in and they're clearly sick, that's where I expect my supervisors to say, you need to go home
Yeah, no doubt.
and use your sick leave.
And also that discretionary week of vacation can come out of that 240, which that's a way that they can benefit from that as well.
And then from a longevity standpoint, this one, I reached out to pretty much all general law cities in the state of Texas. Here's the ones who responded that are similarly sized. there's two ways to look at it, but what we saw for the most part was most people do it per month. As a reminder, right now, our policy says $2 per month. The average that we saw was around $5. And then another way that we saw some cities do it, and you can see here, it was kind of a lump sum payment of, as an example, Lorenzo does 10 hours of pay for years 1 through 4. Castroville does $100 per year of service. So there's different ways to do it. And the recommendation here is to kind of look at the options and get some, and I took kind of the average based on all of them. So option 1 was increasing from $2 a month to $5 a month, which is our current practice. And then there's essentially an example. So for 1 year of service, you'd get $60. For 2 years of service, you'd get $120, and then so on. Option 2 would be by hours of pay. So, it could be 10 hours of pay for the first year to 4 years, and so on. And then option 3 would be a per year amount. Either option is better than what we currently have. It's really more so from the council standpoint how you'd like to do longevity. Yeah, they get it at the first
Paycheck.
paycheck in December.
I like option 3.
Option 3.
You like option 3? Plus $50 for additional year. So if you're at 3 years, you're at $200 per month.
So which one is the more, option 2?
So option
2?
I would say it really depends. I think option 2 would probably be the one where people get paid the most.
The problem with that is you don't have much, not everybody's on hourly pay.
Yes, but I know everyone's hourly wage.
You got guys that work over.
Can I take mine on my overtime?
Well,
It's based on a 40-hour.
it's so, and it's not, it's, let me preface, it's by their hour. So everybody in the city of Bartlett has an hourly wage. You can break my salary down to an hourly wage. The way that it would be done is it's not done with the average payroll. This is done as a one-time payment. So there are no other hours attached to it. It's a separate payroll process, off cycle. And we would essentially put, let's say for Derek, I'd put 10 hours of pay, right? He's been here longer. So let's say it's 15 hours of pay. And that's how I'd do it. I'd just be putting in, he's getting paid 15 hours as if he's working 15 hours that week or that pay period, but it's a separate off cycle. It's not with this, it's not going into overtime. It's not getting added to their first paycheck of December. It's a separate paycheck.
Meyer will get $2.30 for the next 4 years.
I'm almost at a year.
Okay, that's 3 years.
I'm getting there.
We all lock on that one. We got an option 3. Anybody have any suggestions? It's not a vote, it's just suggestions.
It's not like the overtime. It's like 40 hour week, that's the way it is.
Yeah, it's just straight pay. It's like straight.
So it sounds like option 2 is the preferred option.
Where were you at? 4? Option 4? Is that 3 plus 1 or? Where you at? You said 3? So you got 2 and 3 to choose from.
Given that I heard majority on option 2, I'll just work to add that in the red line. And then when we bring it back, we can see. Hopefully it'll be for adoption.
You bring it back and explain something.
Pardon?
A full example of it.
Yes, we can do that. So we'll do another workshop with just that. And then we'll start redlining the actual personnel policy.
I have a question. You mentioned earlier. So where you said sick leave is no pay, right?
Is what?
Sick leave is no pay?
If you leave the city, you do not get your
Well,
sick
no,
leave
I'm
paid
talking
out.
if you're working, say like, he's a city employee, he's calling sick.
Oh, yeah, they have sick leave that pays, like
Okay,
they're
yeah.
regular. It's more so like, let's say I had 200 hours and I left the city's not obligated to pay me my 200 hours of sick leave.
Okay.
Only my vacation
That's
I'm
what
using.
somebody, I'm not, understood, I thought like.
No.
okay. But I remember when that's the only time I ever had come back, you got paid sick leave
Yeah.
if you called in sick. or
Right.
Yeah, you get paid,
Oh, you won't take that from.
yeah, you get an 8 hour day for,
I've been thinking, figured out all that.
I've got the feedback I need.
All right, item 3, discussion and direction on recruitment and retention.
All right. So the reason this item's coming before you all this soon, before really the budget, is the rate study. A part of the rate study is looking at future expenses or required expenses, and one of the big ones there is public works and salaries. And so I wanted to get this conversation going in front of you all to understand where we may land with the FY25 budget, or if not sooner. I know that this has been talked about as far as we've got some employees where they've raised their concerns of not being competitive enough with the market. And so I took it upon myself to say, okay, well, what is the market paying? And so what you'll see, a market study essentially looks at comparing ourselves to other similarly sized cities on the very same position. And so right now there's 5 positions that are under market by 7% to 20%. And even with the COLA that we normally do, we would not be catching up to that before. I'm sure those salaries would change. So we'd be behind the trail for quite a bit until we decided to make any significant jumps. So we'll spend some time here, but what that looks like, and I've got those the titles at the very top, and you can see the difference in that red. And so we talked about 7% to almost 21% with their police officers. And so what you see at the top is what our people are currently getting paid, or if there's multiple people, it's an average. And then you'll see what the cities that responded or the county, what they're currently paying. And so in orange on the bottom, you'll see what the recommendation is to bring us closer in line to market. And then what that change would be based on their current pay. And then how we would then eventually compare to the market moving forward. Happy to spend some time here, talk about it. I know that this is something that it's going to have significant impacts, and I've got a slide showing what those impacts are to the funds. But wanted to start talking about it because from the public works standpoint, so that's your utility billing clerk, your public works lead, your public work crew member, the 3 there, those would then get absorbed in that rate study, figuring out what the cost to serve is and what the rate needs to be to essentially operate our utility.
Did you happen to get some information about, I know certain cities, and if I know it doesn't pay them more, but in concrete, if you will, but certain cities help with their education piece, their certification piece, and they look at that as kind of some of their, it would be a gap that you can do pretty economically to have somebody go over and train and certify and those kinds of things within the city. You would probably be looking at your crew and maybe go get a different job. I understand that, but at the same time, it would be a cheaper way to fill their salaries currently. I know some cities around 95 do that, and so I don't know if you got those statistics in reference to.
They did not pull that.
We already do that.
yeah.
We have,
It's not used, but
yeah. So a lot of the police officers, we pay for those certification courses.
I was actually talking more about the water.
And it's there.
Mm-hmm.
The option's there.
Okay.
It's just, do they choose to use it or not?
and we pay for certifications.
And like
all
the
of that.
linemen, when we had linemen, hopefully one day we will again. use North Texas Lineman College. Was it North Texas or North Texas Lineman College? And so they can go through courses that way, get more certifications and stuff like that, and licenses and stuff. So we
And the
paid
city
for,
will pay for it?
yeah, we paid
Yes.
for Brandon CDL whenever he did it, his CDL classes and all that stuff. And
We're getting Steven up to a B in his licensing right now.
yeah, so there are some employees that do choose to use it, but the option's there, in other words. So,
Right.
yeah.
One of the meetings, we had kind of a side subject back, I think Joseph was still here, on the police officer pay, was that some supplemental pay for that?
Did that pass in the House?
I think it passed for schools and not for cities, but I can dig back into it further.
Because I think the average one I recall was supposed to get us up to about what the recommendation is.
Yeah. I'll look into it. I remember it passed for schools, and I have a feeling it probably didn't pass for cities, but we can confirm. And speaking to that, impacts. So if we were to go with the recommendation, this is what the increase would be based on what they're currently being paid. So this is not full fund impact. This is just the difference. So the general fund would have an impact of almost 70,000, and then the utility fund would have an impact of almost 100,000. Again, that's over a 12-month period. Well, things that to look into, again, the cost recovery. So a few things that we can do and are looking to do. One, the utility rate study. That's why this is coming forward. We need to make sure that we have an accurate picture of what our future expenses are going to be so that we can make sure our rates cover that. The other thing is cost sharing. So superintendent and I met a few months ago. We were talking about having the ISD essentially pay for one of our officers or a percentage of. We were still looking at what that figure might be. It could be 60%, 70%, 80% based on the time. And so you'd essentially have one officer currently that would, if passed by both parties, we would not be paying a full salary there. Again, we would then need to hire another officer, just given that we are understaffed on a police department. The other thing is that there is, and it's actually something that was sparked by reaching out to, I think it was Rogers and Little River. They do a lot of cost sharing between their staffs. And so Little Rogers, or Rogers may have one staff member that Academy uses, and then likewise. And so they've got an interlocal agreement. And so in reaching out to the city of Gerald, they are looking to hire these new positions. And the thought there when I spoke to their city manager was possibly doing some kind of where, because we don't have as much as they do, so bringing inspections in-house, so we'd be using their inspector. We would use their plan reviewer, so moving away from third party again. And then they have an engineer, so that way we could use an engineer and not necessarily pay what we're paying now for just little things where we have questions and whatnot, where we could just have that done by another city's engineer. So that's something that we're looking to explore. We don't necessarily know what that's going to look like, but that would be three things right there that we already spend money on that we'd be saving a lot of money if we were to move through a kind of cost sharing process. And
Multiple, especially in special education. They requested back and forth to save a lot of money.
Is that potential that would happen with our police department, say, Attorney Granger and Holland and ourselves?
that'd be a larger conversation.
Understood, but I mean, what I'm saying is if we could have a common chief and then have officers that are 5 miles down the road, then that might be an option for us to get better coverage from all three cities.
Yeah, I don't know if they do a common chief, but they may be able to share officers, because I know that I think all of those cities have chiefs currently, and that becomes political. So we could ask the question of if there'd be. I could reach out to Christy with Granger and the mayor in Holland.
Just ask the question.
Yeah.
Could be a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. And then from a development standpoint, we'll eventually see, right, increased revenue from utilities, property taxes, sales taxes. We've already got one that's going to go through a hopeful rezone to bring 25 single-family homes. So that'll be a small tract that if it continues to move forward, it'll more property tax, more utility, and it'll hopefully be vertical before we know it. So some ways to pay for that, because I know that it's a lot of money, it's a lot of impact, and we do have the money out there, we're just not collecting it right now. And so this is something I wanted to start getting your feedback on. And so the question is this something that council wants to see market adjustments move into the 25 budget? So that way I'm aware of it when I'm having these discussions with the rate consultants, and I can provide an accurate picture of what salaries might look like.
Does our employee manual, does it have job descriptions?
Most manuals don't have job descriptions in their personnel policy, but what we do is we create job descriptions. And I can try to see, I know we have one for my position, superintendent, or clerk. I can see if we've got some for the others.
What we encountered with our electric issue, we should be setting expectations, and if they're not being met, then we need to be addressed.
And that's where the,
The next step of that is, do we have evaluations?
we have it in our personnel policy currently. It's just not been implemented, I think, on a full-size staff employee. Is that correct? I know it's been done for the city administrator and police chief. So then it's more so now just trickling it down. And that's something I'm working on right now.
I'm thinking a good first step is to have D360 reviews and have them tell us what they think their job description is.
Right.
Then we can go from there.
That's right.
Well,
I've already heard some of them.
They're
Not
all-
my job.
Yeah, over the page. Yeah,
With more pay, this is everybody's job, more than who you
Absolutely.
right.
are. With more pay comes more expectations.
Absolutely.
Ain't that right, Brenda?
I know that.
She's like, I have to stay at these council meetings now. Any other discussions on that? On the workshop? Go ahead, Philip.
We want to agree about that 25 budget.
Yes.
All right, so that's all on the workshop.
Yes, sir.
We'll close the workshop at 7:42 p.m. I opened it at 7:06, by the way. I think you're back to get the paper. All right, consent agenda, nothing tonight.
No, I figured I'd make it run a little longer.
Public hearing, hold public hearing to consider ordinance 2024-012201 for annexation of tract or parcel being 17.91 acres, more or less, situated adjacent to the city of Bartlett, W.C. Wilson Survey, A-856, Bell County. We'll open the public hearing at 7:43 p.m. Anybody here to discuss the public hearing? Annexation of the property that the ISD currently sits on.
It sounds like we did do the resolution on stormwater.
Yes. Any other?
It's this thing.
I guarantee you it's not working.
Yeah.
The whole town's flooded. All right, anybody discuss, anyone for the public hearing? We'll close it at 7:43 p.m. Moving into the regular agenda items, action items. Item number 5, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance 2024-0122-01 for annexation of tract or parcel being 17.91 acres, more or less, situated adjacent to the city of Bartlett, W.C. Wilson Survey, A-856, Bell County, Texas. That's that thing we just discussed in that public hearing. We just need some, y'all want to take action.
I'll make the motion to approve the ordinance 2024-0122-01 for the annexation of tract or parcel being 17.91 acres, situated adjacent to the city department, WC Wilson Circle, 856 Bell County.
You gotta say the whole thing. I'm just kidding.
That's why,
I'm just
that's
kidding.
why I like vote.
Shelton, second. We got a Philip, Mr. Weaver's motion of everything he just mentioned, and then a Shelton Gilmore, second. All in favor? It carries 4-0. I will sign this later because there's a lot of notary stuff.
You're good.
All right. You want to take a recess? Item number 6, consideration of possible action to approve 24-01-MSA. That's the master service agreement with Gessner Engineering for general engineering services.
So as y'all remember, we did a request for qualifications of engineers to add on the rotation list. We selected 6. So far, I've gotten 2 executed, and that Gessner's here. So there's Sarah, and then we've got Trey with the next item, which is KPA. So this is just an execution of that master service agreement. This isn't task ordering anything out. This is just getting an agreement with them so that we can work with them in the future without having to competitively bid, given that we've already gone through the process.
So these are annual renewals or how they work?
I believe it is a 5-year normally.
I think we said 5-year last time. I think that's what it says. I don't want to do it every year. It's a lot of paper.
3 years. There you go.
It's either 3 or 5.
I wrote it a few weeks ago, so I forgot.
All right. Yeah, we need some action.
Oh, thanks for reading all this. I move we approve, 24-01-MSA with Gessner Engineering for general engineering services.
Good job, Shelton.
Second.
Jesse beat you. Look at that. We got a Shelton Gilmore motion on the table with a Jesse Lemon second. All in favor? Assuming you're voting yes, right? Yeah. Carries 4. I mean, you made the motion. Carries 4-0. And I will sign that in just a moment. We'll get this last one out of the way. Item number 7, consideration and possible action to approve 24-02-MSA with Casper, Patrick and Associates. That's KPA LP for general engineering services. Same thing.
I'll make a motion.
Ooh,
Yeah, to approve, 24-02-MSA with Casper Patrick and Associates for general engineering services.
perfect. Thank you. Jesse Leonard, is that you? Is that you? Yeah. We got a Mr. Weaver motion with Jesse Leonard second. All in favor? Carries 4-0. Y'all have any future agenda items?
Just bringing back what I got feedback on.
All right.
You'll show us some map towards the trees and stuff.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I will get that.
Ms.
Cost
Cooper.
was again. That way we can justify or adjust.
Yeah.
We do it for them again.
I think the so far seems to be doing a job.
Good thing, sure helps.
Yeah, the only,
Only one power outage.
Don't say that.
it was Encore's fault. It wasn't even our fault.
That was a Bartlett miracle.
The only outage was an Encore out. Drug a line across the Bartlett line and burned the Bartlett line down. All right, Ms. Cooper, you're on deck.
I make a motion we adjourn.
I'll say.
Passes. We'll close the meeting at 7:49 p.m. All right,
Record time.
record time. Even with all that business. All right, so let me sign these. I think Miss Sarah, are you?
I think
Sarah,
she's
right?
already signed, yeah.
Sometime this one.
Oh, okay.